23 minutes to go. Of course, Ohio, huge for both candidates. No Republicans ever won the White House without Ohio. I'm up here at the data deck with our friend Bill Hemmer. It's good to be here.
You're going to love it up here, man.
I mean, it's very
it's
nice.
Like a mezzanine level.
It's a new spot.
And we got some graphics that we think can tell a pretty interesting story throughout the night.
Okay.
So let's get it going here. And this would be at the moment with official polls closing in about 23 minutes. This is the current marker where we begin the night, okay? Trump's at 164 electoral votes over there. Needs to get to 270 and win the White House. If we, like we discussed over the weekend, if we were to give Trump all the states that Romney won 4 years ago, you go Arizona, you would go Georgia, you would go North Carolina, and then you start to put the map in the play and figure out what they need to win. It would be Iowa, it would be Ohio, and it would be Florida. And that's not easy. And even that is 259. Mm-hmm. So if you go there, Brett, you're still looking at these states up here. Is it a Pennsylvania or is it a Michigan? Is it a Wisconsin? That would get him to 269 based on this scenario here. There's a big but in all this, and that's Hillary Clinton has a vote in this. And if you want to come on over here.
Yeah. So I have a question. What if Hillary Clinton, as they're talking about, we just talked to Christina Shockey, and she said they're really optimistic about Florida. Okay, so let's give Florida to Hillary Clinton. Okay, now it's these states. I mean, we could give her Virginia. You know, we can probably give her Wisconsin, Colorado, and then he has to pick up Pennsylvania and Michigan, right? Or one of the two.
When you do the math there and you take Florida out of his scenario, it gets very difficult.
He's got to run the table.
You just punched up to 270, so how'd you get there?
I got New Hampshire, but I gave him Michigan and Pennsylvania. And if you give Nevada out west to Hillary Clinton.
Takes it to 258.
And then you have, I mean, he has to run the table. He can do it.
Yeah.
But it's a hard slog.
So we call it the data deck, right? So come on over here.
Okay.
And it is 7 o'clock on the East Coast, which means polls have just closed in half a dozen states. And the Fox News decision desk can, at long last, begin to call winners and losers in the 2016 presidential race. Our first projection is in Vermont, where Hillary Clinton will easily win that state's 3 electoral votes, according to Fox News exit polls.
Next, we go to Kentucky, where Fox News can project that Donald Trump will prevail, picking up 8 electoral votes. Trump will also win Indiana, where his running mate, Mike Pence, of course, serves as governor, based on the Fox exit polls and the early returns.
In Virginia, where Hillary Clinton's running mate, Tim Kaine, serves as that state's junior senator, she has a lead right now over Trump, although it is too early to project a winner there.
It's also too early to say who will win Georgia, to Chris Wallace's point, and South Carolina, 2 tightly contested states that Trump must clinch if he's to have a plausible path to the White House. And if you look at some of these states, the reason why we can call a lot of them early is because so many people have voted early in 39 states around the country. So basically, these states push a button, you get the early raw vote total, and then you get the exit polls, and our decision desk can kind of extrapolate from both of those. Mm-hmm.
Does it mean anything that states like South Carolina and Georgia are too close to call right now?
I'm astonished, particularly about South Carolina.
Turning now to Senate races, Fox News can project that Vermont's Patrick Leahy, the longest-serving Democrat in the Senate, will win an 8th term, vanquishing Republican businessman Scott Milne. Fox also projects that Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina will beat Democratic challenger Thomas Dixon.
I love vanquishing.
I mean, they just get
nice
the best words,
staple
don't they?
From the decision desk. We are also ready to project that Kentucky Senator Rand Paul, who dropped his own bid for the GOP presidential nomination in February, will win by beating Democratic challenger Jim Gray, based on our Fox News exit polls and early vote tallies. In Georgia, Republican Senator Johnny Isakson is ahead of his Democratic challenger, Jim Barksdale, but he must garner more than 50% of this vote to avoid a runoff, as required by Georgia law. And so far, we're not ready to make a projection in that race.
And that may not bode well for getting above the 50%. The runoff is January 10th, so imagine that it's so close that you have to go Finally.
Stop that. We don't want to hear anything about Ron. We don't want to hear about the election extending beyond this evening.
Let's not talk about it. Finally, we do not yet know whether Indiana Democrat Evan Bayh, who retired from the Senate 6 years ago, will be able to win back his old seat by defeating Republican Congressman Todd Young, who currently is ahead in the early vote tallies. The seat currently held by Republican Dan Coats, who's retiring. So Bayh victory would obviously give Democrats an important pickup there. They thought this was going to be the pickup that was going to enable them to get on a path to taking control of the Senate.
Stand by,
the way
Fivers.
There is now.
7:30 p.m. on the East Coast, and polls have just closed in 3 more states, representing another 38 electoral votes. Fox News can project that Donald Trump will win West Virginia by a wide margin. Based on Fox exit polls, there's some cheering outside, maybe some. Is that Chris Stirewalt's
Is that
family?
Stirewalt? That's
I don't know.
Stirewalt's people. Fox News can also report that Hillary Clinton has a lead in North Carolina, although it is too early to declare a winner in this key swing state. It is also too early to declare a winner in the bellwether state of Ohio, where Trump had led Clinton in pre-election polls for the last 3 weeks.
Speaking of the Buckeye State, Fox News can project now that Ohio Senator Rob Portman, a Republican, will win re-election by defeating former Ohio Governor Ted Strickland, the Democrat. It's too early to project a winner in the North Carolina Senate race, where Richard Burr, the Republican, is trying to fend off a challenge from Democrat Deborah Ross. That race is very tight. Okay, we can make a call, we're told. We can call South Carolina for Donald Trump right now. The decision desk calling South Carolina for Donald Trump, and that puts it into his column as well. It's 8 o'clock in the East. Fox News can now project that Republican Donald Trump will win Missouri based on exit polls. He will also win Mississippi, Oklahoma, and Tennessee, according to the Fox News decision team.
You can hear the people in the crowd outside of the Fox News channel cheering at some of these results. Meantime, Democrat Hillary Clinton will easily win her home state of Illinois, according to exit polls. Mrs. Clinton is also performing strongly on the East Coast, where Fox projects she will win New Jersey, Massachusetts, Maryland, Delaware, and the District of Columbia.
In Maine, one of the 2 states that does not use a winner-take-all system of awarding electoral votes, Fox can now project that Clinton is ahead, although it's too early to make a projection in that state. Based on Fox exit polls, it's too early to project the winner also in Pennsylvania, although Clinton is said to be leading there.
Watching that one very closely. Polls have also closed in 2 other important states that we are not yet ready to call, Florida and New Hampshire. The Sunshine State represents a whopping 29 electoral votes, while the Granite State represents just 4. And yet both are crucial to these candidates, especially Donald Trump.
Now, just remember that you're looking at these numbers and the percentages, and that is the raw early vote that we have right at the beginning when the polls close. And we are also looking at these states with the exit polls as well. So when you look at the percentages, that's not really where they stand now overall.
But the importance of Florida cannot be overstated, that is a critical must-have state to Donald Trump. Any path to the White House that Donald Trump has requires Florida. That's just period, end of report. You can try to do it without other states, but you cannot try to do it without Florida. So we're all watching that one extremely carefully. And they've both been making a big play for New Hampshire in the past couple of weeks.
Now let's go to a big batch of Senate races. Fox News can project that Democratic Congresswoman Tammy Duckworth, I mentioned her, of Illinois, will unseat Republican Senator Mark Kirk, giving Democrats a key pickup tonight. Remember, Democrats need 4 with the White House, 5 without, to take over the Senate, depending on who's elected president.
That one was not a surprise in Illinois. Fox News can also project that Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal, a Democrat, will win a 2nd term by defeating Republican Dan Carter. And in Maryland, Democrat Chris Van Hollen will beat Republican Congresswoman Kathy Saliga in the race to succeed retiring Democratic Senator Barbara Mikulski.
In Oklahoma, Republican Senator James Lankford will win re-election, beating Democratic challenger Mike Workman.
I want to turn now to Delaware, where Fox News can now project that Democrat John Carney, a former aide to Vice President Joe Biden, will defeat Republican Colin Bonini to become the state's next governor, according to exit polls and partial vote returns.
Exactly. We can make another call. The Fox News decision desk can call the state of Rhode Island for Hillary Clinton. And as you see on your screen, the electoral votes will tick up throughout the night. We're going to move those electoral votes right now 68 to 67. And it's also obviously on the bottom of your screen. Rhode Island, not a shocker, because that's expected to be a Democratic stronghold.
Mm-hmm. And 270 is the magic number. People may know that by now, but they may have forgotten. 270 is what they need to get to become president. A lot of these that we've called so far have been baked in, and we haven't had any surprises in the Electoral College so far on either side, but the night is still young.
The night is young. Bill Hemmer is upstairs at the data deck with Karl Rove.
Hey, guys. Good evening again. Just ticking through some of these states right now in Ohio, just looking here at Franklin County. That's Columbus. It's early, but Clinton at the moment is outperforming, at least on a percentage basis, the vote that Barack Obama got in the same county 4 years ago. We could pop down here to North Carolina, just kind of get a measure of what's happening here in the Tar Heel State. This is Wake County. That's Raleigh. You know, they were both there yesterday, and just watching this, early returns in, she's a tick below 60%. Obama was right about 56% 4 years ago. Just show you down here in Florida real quick, and starting to see some of the strength down here in the southeast. This is just north of Palm Beach County, and Trump is doing better than, say, Mitt Romney did 4 years ago. But again, we're just watching this as the returns come in early. I want to swing around here real quick.
We do have a call to make. The Fox News decision desk can make a call in the Florida Senate race. Marco Rubio will win the Florida Senate race against Patrick Murphy, the Democratic challenger, representative. This was a lot tighter than people thought it was going to be, actually, heading into this race. And that could go to what we were just talking about, that breakdown of the Hispanic Latino vote. But it is possible also that that vote split tickets, and it might be a factor. But Rubio wins this race. Remember, he ran for president, decided he was not going to run for Senate after he lost that primary battle, and then said, you know what? I think I am. All right, we're going to call now the Fox News decision desk. Indiana Senate for Representative Todd Young. This is a big win against Senator Evan Bayh, former senator from Indiana, a big name there in Indiana. And then when this race started, Evan Bayh was up double digits. Todd Young fought his way back. He's 44 years old, currently a congressman. He's a Marine. And he had a lot of support from the Republican Party. This is a major hold. This is the retiring Dan Coates seat for the Republicans, and one in which really does paint a better picture now with Rubio holding in Florida and Young winning in Indiana, that perhaps if Republicans shoot the gap, they can hold on to control of the United States Senate. A lot of races still yet to call, including New Hampshire, Missouri, Wisconsin, and others. Megan, let's set it up to you.
So now we're 4 seconds away from our next race call, and we are prepared to make that one for you. Now, it's 8:30 p.m. here in New York City. The polls have now closed in the state of Arkansas, and it is too early for the Fox News decision desk to project whether Donald Trump will win Arkansas, where Hillary Clinton served as first lady for 12 years. Of course, the Clintons have a long history in that state. Also, Fox News can now project that Donald Trump will win Alabama's 9 electoral votes, according to our Fox News exit polls and partial vote returns. Again, I want to take you back to Florida because this is an important state right now. We were just looking at the latest, the Bureau of Elections down there posts the results as they're seeing it, and it is razor thin. This is just according to a few minutes ago, but it changes by the second, showing Trump slightly ahead in Florida with 3,990,000 votes, 300, so that's, call it 3.99, and Hillary just behind him by about 4,000, 3,986,000. So you're talking about a 4,000 vote difference there as of a few moments ago. But that, I mean, anything can happen there. They are counting as we speak. So let's figure out what all this means and whether they can foretell anything from this. Not me. I don't know. These guys know, though. Yeah, they're the experts. Carl, you see anything you object to so far?
Well, things change really fast. State Board of Elections now says the count in Florida is 4,266,000 for Trump to 4,172,000 for Hillary Clinton. The panhandle of Florida, Okaloosa, Escambia, Bay, Walton, these very heavily Republican precincts on the western side of the Panhandle are starting to come in, and he's now opened up a.
So that's good for Trump. That's supposed to be Trump territory.
Yeah, he's now opened up a 1.1% lead, and this will change again within the next 2 or 3 minutes because there's the central time zone is now coming in, and those counties are overwhelmingly Republican.
So if you're advising Trump tonight, how do you like these numbers? How do you like the way it stands at this point, given what counties they've counted?
I'd be interested in what Starwald says, so I'll speak first, and he can correct me.
No one's ever said that. No, just kidding.
Tough crowd.
I say it every night.
Man. So I'm looking at the Southeast, and I would have thought that he would run slightly ahead of what Mitt Romney did because he's the homeboy. He's got Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, right.
And he's not. In Broward and Palm Beach, he's not running ahead of where Romney is. And that's not a good sign for him. Now, he's also trailing in Hillsborough, which Hillsborough is a bellwether county. It is voted for the winner 19 out of the last 20 elections.
Wow.
It's voted for the national winner, and right now it's for Hillary Clinton. Again,
What part of the state is that?
That's in the western edge of the I-4 corridor in the central part of Tampa. And I'd say this. I'd say that we got to take this all with a grain of salt because so many votes were cast early. And those get counted first and get reported first.
So those are in these numbers we're looking at. These 4 million.
We're looking at. And then, as the evening goes on, the question is, how much better does somebody do on Election Day than they did in the early vote?
Chris?
Well, look, the issue here, as we always know, is the I-4 corridor, which is from Orange County. Well, it goes all the way to the coast, both coasts, but it's from Orange County, which is Orlando, and then Tampa and St. Petersburg on the other side. Republicans have been doing worse in the Tampa-St. Pete area because it's gotten younger and it's gotten more diverse. Now, the problem is up in Orlando, that was good country for Obama. I was expecting to see that Clinton would not do as well in Metro Orlando as Obama did. I expected her to underperform, and so far that's not the case. So far she's holding her own with these voters.
Yeah, I expected her actually to do worse because this is an area where there's been significantly, for Trump to do worse, I'm sorry, and her to do better. This has been an area of a large amount of the middle class of Puerto Rico has fled to Central Florida and is now living in Orange County, waiting for the economy back home to get better, and they've registered to vote. And Democrats say in Orange and the surrounding counties, Orlando and the surrounding area, this is where the Puerto Ricans are registering as, and Central Americans registering as independents, not Democrats.
And stand by, I want to get to Dana, but first I want to go over to Bill Hemmer at the Billboard so we can drill down a little bit deeper into what we're seeing in these Florida
I think it's
counties.
fascinating what we're seeing these developments here and just some of what Carl was talking about there. And you look at the total vote number. This is the panhandle that you guys were just discussing here. So we'll keep an eye on that. It's almost like, you've got a weight up here and a counterweight down here. And I was just ticking through this I-4 corridor. Let me go back in here for a moment here. This is, Tampa to the west. It's Orlando in the middle. It's Daytona Beach up to the north. And let's clear that off here. This is Hillsborough County, okay? So she's got about a 6. Look at the percentage on this. At 6%. 4 years ago, Obama was at 53%. Okay, so you examine that and you store that data point away. Then you come up the I-4 corridor. This is Orlando, Orange County. At the moment, she's at 60% to his 35%, which is a pretty decent number, outperforming a little bit percentage-wise from Obama 4 years ago. This is Seminole County, largely Republican. Mitt Romney had 76% of the vote in that county alone 4 years ago. So how's Trump doing on the margins right now? He's a little bit below that, about 73%. The Trump team had talked a lot about Daytona Beach for some time leading up. This is one of the 2 counties that Romney flipped 4 years ago. And so in Volusia County, Daytona Beach, Trump is right about 55% comparison to 4 years ago. So he's well outperforming the margin there. Up here in Flagler, another county that Romney flipped 4 years ago, it was 53.7. And at the moment, it's 59%. So now you start to look at the raw numbers, Carl, and you look at perhaps 35,000 votes in this county, perhaps 20,000 in another, and it's, as they say, it's real money after a while, and that's what you're starting to see just a little bit. This is Palm Beach down here. Trump has Mar-a-Lago. She's just under 58%, and Obama last year was right about that number, 58.6% compared to Romney. So you can fish and feel and find a lot of what adds up to just a super tight race between Clinton and Trump, 4.2 to 4.1. 4 years ago, the raw numbers were this is 75,000 votes 4 years ago in a state where you had 8.5 million cast. I think, Carl, we were talking over the weekend that you typically get, what, about a 20 to 25% increase?
Well,
and new votes over a 4-year period?
Well,
does that apply to this?
Well, that's what happened between 2000 and 2004 was a 25% increase. This was expected to be a year in which there's not going to be a dramatic increase, and we are having a significant increase in a lot of states. I would say something. Bill has put his finger on something. I used to have a place, excuse me, in the Panhandle.
Mm-hmm. I can cover for you for a moment.
I used to have a place in the Panhandle. It's got more in tune with southern Alabama than it does with southern Florida. And
is that Escambia? What was that?
Well, I was in Walton, man. And they used to call it the Redneck Riviera. But affectionately,
right.
You also look, though, at the eastern part of the I-4 corridor, Volusia and Flagler. And that's Daytona Beach. They have NASCAR. That is more blue collar. That's more working class. That's more sort of middle America than the increasingly diverse Tampa, St. Pete. And so they share something in common, those two parts of Florida. And that may be a reason why Trump is doing a little bit better than Romney was.
So wait, but I want to get to Dana, but I have to ask you, Chris, as somebody who can actually has been part of the team actually making these calls and trying to figure out what counties have yet to come in. Yeah. What do the numbers we have so far tell us from the counties that we've already gotten? Can you tell anything? I mean, with Trump slightly ahead, is it just the Panhandle now we're waiting for, which is heavily Republican, or do you believe there's a trove of Democratic votes still out there to come in?
Yeah, and I tell you what I'd do. I'd get that 2000 video ready. I'd get those hanging Chad videos.
Oh, come on.
I'd get those queued up. Well, it couldn't be any daggone closer, could it? I mean, this is about as tight as it gets. Yes, there's going to be more vote count that comes in from the Panhandle. Yes, it's going to be overwhelmingly Republican. But if you look at how can we see Jacksonville?
Sure can. It's Duval County up here in the Northeast. For this year, you're 49 to 47.
And show Mr. and Mrs. America what it was last time.
All right, 2012.
So I thought Trump would be doing better there. I thought that it would be better for him there. Where are these blue-collar white voters that need to storm to the polling places for him? He needs them to show up. And who is going to show up, and apparently who is showing up, are a lot of first-time Hispanic voters. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be tight, 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 tight.
Let's go back to Volusia or one of the Panhandle counties. This is where the supporters are showing up who didn't show up before.
Santa Rosa, where Huckabee's hanging out tonight.
I saw him in the green room.
I was going to say, I think he's downstairs.
He looks tan, though.
He has a very large house on the beach. Let's go down there. I've seen it.
Could you be more specific where?
I tell you, when I think back about elections past, and I think about 2000 to 2004, what we were doing when you were running Bush's campaign in 2004, Carl, is that we were watching the I-4 corridor because we wanted to see what was happening and the difference in the percentage of the vote between Bush and Kerry over that 4-year period. Did it go up or did it go down? Did it go higher or did it go lower? And we come back to 2004, and it's how we won the state. And I remember the night you were on the air saying that we've won Florida. And the Democrats were on the air saying, no, we've won Florida. And we look at the numbers, and we run up from Hillsborough County here in Tampa, where he was a 6-7 point winner in Tampa. And we followed that line up into Polk County, then eventually Orlando, where look at the margin then. It was about a point. And that's when I was working at another shop then. But we were able to make the call and say, you're wrong. Bush has won Florida. And now we move to Ohio to watch the outcome.
Well,
Welcome back to America's election headquarters. We are watching tight races on the presidential level. Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, too close to call. We do have a House call out of Florida, and this is interesting. It's Florida 26. We can call Representative Carlos Curbelo. The Republican will win against former Representative Joe Garcia, the Democrat. Now, why this is important is that this is a quintessential battleground district in a swing state in Florida. This has a heavy Latino presence. The fact that the Republican can pick up this race is significant. It includes Miami suburbs, all of the Florida Keys. You have a situation where Curbelo holds on to this seat, and it tells you a little bit, perhaps, about how the presidential race is that tight. It is the swingiest district of a swing state.
Mm-hmm. We are just moments away now from the next set of poll closings. 14 states on the line and 156 electoral votes. Among the critical states, Arizona, Colorado, and Michigan. All three have been contested by both candidates. The Republicans typically win Arizona, but it's been somewhat in play this season, and both candidates are going for Colorado and Michigan, which was a late introduction into the dogfight category. And it is 9 o'clock here in New York, and polls have just closed in 14 more states, representing another 156 electoral votes. Fox News can now project that Hillary Clinton will win her adopted home state of New York based on Fox exit polls. Fox can also project that Donald Trump will win the states of Kansas, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, and Wyoming.
In Nebraska, one of just two states, along with Maine, that does not use a winner-take-all system of awarding delegates, Fox News can project that Donald Trump will win 4 electoral votes. It's too early to say who will win Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, which represents that state's 5th and final electoral vote. Meanwhile, Hillary Clinton is ahead in New Mexico, although we don't yet know whether she will prevail there, which is really interesting because Donald Trump visited New Mexico in the final days of this campaign, a blue state.
Clearly, they saw something in their internal polling that the rest of us may not have seen in the public polling. It's also too early to project winners in perhaps the 2 most important battleground states of the hour, Arizona and Colorado. Trump has been counting on Arizona's 11 electoral votes to keep his presidential prospects alive. That was part of the Romney coalition. While Mrs. Clinton hopes that Colorado's 9 electoral votes will help cement her path to the White House.
And just now, a Colorado judge has rejected extending voting after a computer glitch there. So we're following that. Fox News can now project that Democratic Senator Chuck Schumer of New York will win a 4th term by easily beating Republican challenger Wendy Long, according to Fox exit polls. Schumer is widely viewed as the new leader of the Democratic caucus, and he would be the majority leader if the Democrats take over the majority. Obviously, Nevada Senator Harry Reid retiring.
And our decision desk can now project that the following 4 incumbent Republican senators will be reelected. Arizona's John McCain, who secures a 6th term by defeating Democrat Ann Kirkpatrick. Jerry Moran of Kansas, who wins a 2nd term by beating the Democrat there. John Hoeven of North Dakota, who gets a 2nd term by turning back a challenge from the Democrat Elliott Glassheim. And John Thune of South Dakota, who wins a 3rd term by beating Democrat Jay Williams tonight.
It is too early to project whether Democrat Russ Feingold of Wisconsin will take back his old Senate seat from Republican incumbent Ron Johnson, who took that seat from Feingold 6 years ago. A Feingold comeback would be an important pickup for the Democrats, as we've talked about, trying to retake the Senate. They need 5 net gain, 4 plus the White House. In Louisiana, where the so-called jungle primary is making it difficult to project who will replace retiring Senator David Vitter, a Republican. There are numerous candidates from both parties on the ballot, and the winner must get more than 50% of the vote to preclude a runoff, which would be December 10th.
And this just in, ready to make another call now. The Fox News decision desk is projecting that Donald Trump has won the state of Arkansas in the presidential contest. This, of course, a state of which Bill Clinton was governor for a number of years. First Lady Hillary Clinton out of Arkansas for 12 years as well. And this state typically votes Republican and has done so again tonight with Donald Trump.
So as you look at our electoral votes, they'll be tallying up throughout the night on the bottom of your screen as well as throughout. We'll be ticking to 270. That's what you need to win the presidency of the United States. And there you see it, 97 to 139 for Donald Trump. Yeah, let me make a call here on the House side, and that is for the Democrats. Florida 7, Democrat Stephanie Murphy, who is a 38-year-old college instructor. She will defeat 12-term incumbent Republican Representative John Mica. And it's a newly drawn district. This district was seen as most competitive for Democrats in Florida, split for Obama and Romney in 2012. But this goes to the Democrats, and it takes out a 12-term incumbent Republican.
Did you say she's a fitness instructor?
No, she's a college instructor. She's a former Pentagon defense...
College instructor.
Yeah. What did...
Not a collagen instructor.
I got confused.
Collagen? No, Pentagon defense specialist. She's a college instructor.
There we go.
38 years old.
It makes more sense.
Takes out a 12-term Republican incumbent. But we saw one House race in Florida called for the Republicans in a very swing district. This one called for the Democrats in another one.
Which leads us knowing absolutely nothing.
Zero.
Other than Florida is a tight state and could go either way. But right now, I mean, to what you've been saying, right now in Florida, you'd rather be Donald Trump than Hillary Clinton.
Okay, Steve, thanks. We have another call to make. The Fox News decision desk can call the Connecticut presidential race for Hillary Clinton tonight. Not a surprise there, but Hillary Clinton picks up those 7 electoral votes. So that adds to her column now at 104 to 139.
We're keeping our eyes on so many critical swing states tonight that we are not yet able to call, including Ohio. I want to get to John Scott, who's live for us in Columbus tonight. John? Just want to stand you by, Carl, because we are able to make an important call tonight, and that is the Fox News decision desk is now projecting that Hillary Clinton has won the state of New Mexico over Donald Trump.
It's 5 electoral votes, but Donald Trump, we can project, wins the state of Louisiana. And it's 8 electoral votes. So our tally goes to 147 for Trump and 109 for Hillary Clinton.
There was a little play in New Mexico. It wasn't completely a foregone conclusion.
He was there.
Am I right
was
that
there.
there's not that so far we haven't called a single swing state even now?
That's right.
That's the first one.
That's the first
none
one.
If you want to count New Mexico,
New Mexico
that's
is
the
a
first
swing state. I mean,
Well,
if you want to
sort
call
of.
that.
Yeah, but it wasn't really in play.
He visited there, but you're right.
Data.
Yeah,
Drilling
data.
down on the numbers. Go
That's
ahead,
right.
Bill.
Megan, Brett, you interrupt me, go ahead, whatever you want, okay? If Rove and Starwald have a thought, just go ahead and chime in. I want to show you what's happening in Ohio that is emblematic of the entire Trump campaign. You see up here in the northeastern part of the state, all right, this is about as blue as you get in a regular election year. It's blue collar, it's steel, it's coal, it's loss of manufacturing jobs. It's about Trump's message. Now, this is Trumbull County, okay? At the moment, now listen, it's 70,000 votes, probably another 30,000 to come in still. He has an edge here by more than 2 points. Show you what Barack Obama did in 2012. Same county. Obama was at 61%. 2008, 61%. 2004, John Kerry, almost 62%. This is a big part of his message that he campaigned on. Another idea here in the center part of the state, Carl, you had mentioned Delaware County a moment ago. This is suburban, it's white, it's affluent, it's highly educated. Right now, in 2004, Bush was doing 66% of the vote. 4 years ago, Mitt Romney, 62%. Pretty good. What is Trump doing in that county right now? He's off about 10 points. More votes to come in, but about 10 percentage points. Down here in Columbus, Ohio, which is Franklin, Hillary Clinton is running up the numbers on him at 64% of the vote. That's to be expected a little bit. Talk about millennial voters. You want to find a county where you can find millennial voters? This is Athens County, Ohio. That's Ohio University. Right now, they're at 56% for Clinton. Look what it was for Barack Obama 4 years ago, 68%.
Yeah.
You go back 2008, it was 68%. And right now she's underperforming among these kind of voters, which is telling us a very interesting story. Come out here to the Southwest, okay? This is Hamilton County, it's the city of Cincinnati. You mentioned Warren County a moment ago. Trump's doing all right, okay? But this is deep, ruby red Republican part of the country. What did Romney do on a percentage basis? He was up about 5 points from where Trump is right now. So you're starting to see, as this vote comes in, a bit of a shift, perhaps in the state. But, I look at this up and down the Ohio River. I mean, that is all red. This is kind of like primary numbers that Trump was doing when he was going head-to-head with John Kasich, the governor there. And I know Starwalt was talking about Belmont County. Trump's got 2/3 of the vote there right now. Yeah, okay, it's 20,000 vote total, but you start to pick up on these rural areas and you see where his message sticks and where it doesn't. And I think Ohio right now tells us a very interesting story about where this campaign, this election is right now. Quick rough count, about 3.1 million total votes cast or tallied so far. The total 4 years ago was 5 million plus. So you've got some more votes to come in. But based on what we're seeing right now, Ohio looks like a decent state for Donald Trump at the moment.
Yeah, it's
back
really
downstairs to you guys.
It's truly amazing. The Fox News decision desk can make a call now in the state of Virginia. We can call Virginia for Hillary Clinton now. We couldn't for some time, but tonight we can say that the Commonwealth, I should say, of Virginia will go to Hillary Clinton. Again, that Northern Virginia area where there are a lot of Democratic votes coming in late here, and now Hillary Clinton gets the state of Virginia, the Commonwealth rather, and now she has 122 electoral votes to Donald Trump's 147.
That's got to come as a huge relief, Britt Hume, to
Yeah, I would
Clinton.
think. Yeah, I would think so. Although, I mean, when you look at where he traveled at the end and the states he was trying to put in play, there wasn't a big effort in Virginia. I think and Virginia had been thought to be gone for some weeks now.
After Comey, he went back down there.
Yeah, he did. He made one foray, but this is not. I don't think any of our decision desk people would count this as a surprise.
Especially
It's important, though.
Tim Kaine, it's his home
think.
state, and he's got
Reasonably popular there too.
and
It
It's
would
funny.
be embarrassing to lose it.
it would be. It'd be like Mike Pence losing Indiana.
Well, and New York is the home state for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, at least right now. And, one of them had to win it. Same
Virginia's
dynamic.
former governors tend to be popular. And a lot of people think it's because they only serve one term, but constitutionally they can only serve one term, and they tend to remain popular, which I think it's always been kind of an interesting phenomenon. John Warner once told me, he said, Virginians love their governors. Now, he, of course, has been in the Senate, and who knows what may have happened to his popularity then, but it's a fact of life in that state's politics.
It was just another route, perhaps, for Trump to get those necessary extra votes. If he gets the Romney states that he needs to get, and then that gets him to about, I think it's 253. He needs to add 17 electoral votes to that, and Virginia would have been a nice way to do it, but not going to happen for him tonight. As again, we've only called 2 swing states, New Mexico and Virginia. They've both been called for Hillary Clinton. Those are not big surprises. We're still waiting on the biggest questions of the night at 9:59 Eastern Time, and we're waiting on a couple more states to call. We expect to have a couple more race calls for you.
This next batch of polls include Iowa, which is a state that had been trending towards Donald Trump, also Nevada, which is a huge swing state, and Utah, that became a big state with independent candidate Evan McMullin factoring in there as well as the top 2 party candidates.
Nevada has been hard fought, heavy Latino population, but also white working class. And so that one's been in contention for some time, with both candidates paying a lot of attention and a real question about whether Trump can woo enough voters in that state over his side to make the difference. Let's check it out.
It is 10 p.m. on the East Coast, and polls have now closed in 4 more states, including several of the most important battlegrounds in the nation. But first, let's start with Montana, where Fox News can project that Donald Trump will win that state's 3 electoral votes. Trump is also ahead in Utah, that we just mentioned, although it's too early to project whether he will beat not just Hillary Clinton, but also, as we mentioned, independent candidate Evan McMullin, a conservative Mormon whose best and perhaps only prospect for winning a state tonight is in Utah. By the way, the last time a presidential candidate who was not from a major party won an electoral vote was 1968, when George Wallace carried 5 southern states.
But the real battlegrounds at this hour are in the absolutely crucial states of Iowa and Nevada, each of which represent 6 electoral votes. Although Donald Trump enjoyed small leads in both states and the Real Clear Politics average of pre-election polls, it's still too early to project whether that will translate into Trump victories tonight in these 2 states. Iowa and Nevada, too close to call.
He traveled to both of them a number of times, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Latino population in Nevada plays out in a state that seemed to be trending towards Hillary Clinton. Chris Wallace, your thoughts on that?
Well, this is interesting because if Trump doesn't win Pennsylvania, let's say he wins all of the Romney states, which includes North Carolina, plus he wins Ohio, plus he wins Florida, that gets him to 253. He's 17 shy of the 270. Now, if he wins Pennsylvania, that puts him over the top right there because there's 18 electoral votes. But if he didn't, and then there's the question, how could you cobble together some states? Nevada, 6 electoral votes. Iowa, 6 electoral votes. That now gets him into the 260s. So, you can begin to see, then you get 1 vote in the 2nd district in Maine. You could begin to cobble. There's a sort of small way of going rather than flipping one big blue state. So those are important. Those could be the difference between him being elected or not elected.
Mm-hmm. And, Iowa, as we pointed out, Britt, Trump has been expected to pull out a victory there. Still too close to call, which doesn't tell us much, but he's still defending some turf, including Georgia as well tonight.
Yeah, that we haven't called that, and of course we haven't called North Carolina, which that's a state that could be a flip the other way, which would put a real, as we've talked about, a real dent in his hopes. So we obviously will wait that one with interest. And Brett, you got Senate races coming up?
I do. Time now for some Senate race calls. Fox News can project, this is not a shocker, Republican Senator Mike Lee of Utah will easily win a second term, defeating Democratic challenger Misty Snow, the first openly transgender person to be a major party nominee for U.S. Senate. Fox News can also project that Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa will win a seventh term by handily beating Democrat Patty Judge, according to Fox exit polls. And it's interesting that this race at the beginning of this cycle was seen by Democrats as one that they thought that they could pick off, along with John McCain, which also didn't seem like it materialized.
No, it did not. But the most important Senate race of the hour is in Nevada, where Republican Joe Heck is competing with Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto to replace retiring Democratic Senator Harry Reid, who also serves as Senate Majority Leader right now. The Republicans once saw this race as their best opportunity for a Senate pickup. Keep in mind that the map for them this year looks very bad. They have to defend way more seats than the Democrats do. So they liked the seat in Nevada for a GOP pickup. But the polls have tightened, and now this race could go either way. We can't call it right now.
By the way, just remember, the net gain, Democrats need +5 net gain to take over control. That's 4 plus the White House. And then on the House side, they need +30, which it does not look like they will get. But this is a huge call right now. We're just getting told that North Carolina Senate can be called. Fox News projects that incumbent Republican Richard Burr will win that close race against the Democrat Deborah Ross. This was nip and tuck in a state that was not sure how it was going to go. We still haven't called the governor's race here, but this is the sitting incumbent Republican senator who's the chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee. He was in a tough race down there. It was believed at one point he was trailing, and then they threw a lot of money into this race. And Deborah Ross, who's a lawyer for the ACLU, was not a perfect fit for this candidate, this nominee at the beginning, but Democrats suddenly thought that they had a real chance to pick this off. The fact that the Republicans have won the Senate seat in North Carolina now seems like it is more likely that they will hold on to the U.S. majority, the majority in the U.S. Senate, which would mean that Mitch McConnell would stay the majority leader, and that would be a big deal.
This is the Fox News Election Alert. We have a big call to make tonight, and that is that the Fox News decision desk is projecting Hillary Clinton will win the swing state of Colorado tonight. Colorado going blue, according to the Fox News decision desk. That's significant, as both campaigns had worked hard for Colorado voters, but Hillary Clinton managing to pull out a win in that state as we continue to await so many of the other critical swing states.
As you were talking, a critical swing state has been called by the Fox News decision desk. Ohio will be Donald Trump's category. A victory for Donald Trump in Ohio can be called by the Fox News decision desk at this point. That is 18 electoral votes. No Republican has won the White House without winning the state of Ohio. Donald Trump, the GOP nominee, has just won the state of Ohio. So now you have the electoral votes at 168 electoral votes for Donald Trump, 131 for Hillary Clinton. He still has some work to do, as we mentioned, about winning blue states in that blue wall. But he is on his way. We have not called Florida yet.
Need 270 to win, so he's got to get another 102 states. I want to bring you an important update now on the balance of power before we get to Jennifer Griffin, and that is that Fox News decision desk is now projecting that the Republicans will hold control of the U.S. House. This is not a huge surprise. We understood that would happen. They've lost some seats. They currently enjoy a 59-seat advantage over the Democrats in the House, which means the Democrats would have had to net 30, a gain of 30 seats. They have not managed to do it, and they will not manage to do it. They're projecting that they'll probably gain between 10 and 20 seats, falling short of majority control. So the Republicans have control of the lower chamber going forward. We know that. Fox News Election Alert for you now. We are waiting on several critical states. We have already called Ohio for Donald Trump, as we brought to you moments ago. and we are about to make a major call. Fox News Decision Desk is now projecting that Donald Trump has won the state of North Carolina. And that is huge for Donald Trump. This is exactly what he needed to do. Win Ohio, win North Carolina. Florida's part of it, and then pick off a blue. That's what he's trying to do. That's what he's hoping to do. We're waiting on Florida. We're waiting on several states, including Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota. But right now, if you're in the Trump camp, with the exception of Colorado and New Mexico, which have gone for Hillary Clinton, you've got to say this night is going directly according to plan. We're taking a look at Trump headquarters here in New York City, which is at the Hilton Hotel here on 6th Avenue, steps away from where the Fox News channel is, and you can feel the enthusiasm, and the reports have come back that the enthusiasm there has picked up as the mood over at Clinton campaign headquarters, which is also here in New York City at a big convention center, has changed dramatically as they begin to realize their plan. It could still come out the way they want. Don't get me wrong. But they would much rather have seen Trump lose one of these critical states. I want to toss it up to Brett, who's upstairs at our data desk. Brett?
Wow. I mean, this is pretty amazing. Bill Hemmer, we're working the map, and now that North Carolina win for Donald Trump, you look at the map,
Yep.
It's starting to line up.
We filled these pieces in what? For
A million times?
A million times.
Remember, 270 is what you
Between
need
the two of us.
to win the presidency, 270 electoral votes.
Let me just go ahead and tick through this, and you just watch Trump and Clinton's numbers change. And this, by the way, it's not far-fetched at all. It's quite rational. If you look at the vote tallies right now, he's got a lead in Florida. He's got a lead in Georgia. We just called it for North Carolina. The Des Moines Register poll over the weekend had him up 7 points in Iowa. All right, so you see the numbers shifting here. He's going to probably win Idaho. Would you grant me that?
Set.
Likely Utah. For the sake of this argument, let's give him Arizona, even though it's been contested, okay? I would give her California. I'd give her Oregon and Washington State. What happens in Alaska? Does he win there? Likely. Does she win Maine? Probably most of them. And so now we're at 258 to 209. I think for the sake of this argument, Brett, go ahead and get her Nevada based on the early voting and give her Pennsylvania.
Okay,
And she's
so
at
then you're at 258, 235.
235. I'd give her Minnesota, and she's at 245. And then I would come back to him, and I'd put my focus on Michigan. And if that happens, he's the president of the United States.
Now,
at 274.
Aren't we now shifting? Aren't we talking now about what is her path to get to 270? We have spent weeks and weeks talking about what's his path to get to 270. We are now shifting to talk about what's her path to 270.
So let's go ahead and take away Arizona and give that to Hillary Clinton. Bump up to 256. Let's say he doesn't win Michigan. Maybe she wins Michigan.
And there she is.
She's at 272.
272.
We have talked repeatedly, Brett, about his path being so difficult. Number of ways to get there, certainly, or the number of different combinations. And her path being a lot easier. It is still a lot easier. I would point to New Hampshire because we're not quite sure which way that's going to go as well. But she's got the easier run at it right now. But at the moment, he is pulling the inside straight that we've been debating now for months.
If Florida is very close, what are the chances that Hillary Clinton is the one that says this race is not over and we are sending lawyers down to Florida and you and I are back looking at Chads like we were in
Butterfly
2000?
ballots, right? I'll tell you right now in Florida, this is the breakdown. You know, Trump has a lead of about 135,000 votes. That's the state of that race at the moment.
Just dip in there real quick.
Yeah, I show you Michigan. Look at all the red counties here in Michigan as they fill in now. A lot of the vote to come in. I will go to Wisconsin too and just show you quickly. Look at all the red counties that they're filling in for Trump, and they're still adding them up. And I would also make the case this, and perhaps this is the story of the night. Trump came out and said they're ripping you off, folks. They're taking your jobs. They're shipping them overseas. And he talked about western New York and western Pennsylvania and Ohio, up into Wisconsin and Michigan, and also North Carolina. North Carolina's lost 250,000 textile jobs in the past 20 years. This was his message. And right now, if you tick through these states and you look at them, well, you know, it's working for him.
Which is why he made those stops.
Look at Northern Ohio. Look at all the red counties here. And 4 years ago, it was all blue. It's all been transformed tonight before our eyes as we watch it.
It's a completely different map. And we are now, Megan, talking about what is her path to 270. Back down to you.
And we have big news here as well, Brett and Bill. Want to make a projection now in Wisconsin, where Fox News is now projecting that Senator Ron Johnson will beat back a challenge from Democrat Russ Feingold in a hard-fought battle. Ron Johnson will win that state. This was one that was not at all certain and that the decision desk had been waiting on, but Russ Feingold occupied the seat until he was ousted by Johnson in 2010, and now this will stay in Republican control. This is one of the seats that the Democrats had very much been hoping to pick off as in their what they hoped would be march to control of the upper chamber, which has so far not materialized tonight. Welcome back, everybody. We are moments away now from another round of poll closings, just about a minute out from being able to make some calls, this time in 5 states with 82 electoral votes up for grabs. And the biggest prize of all is California with 55. It hasn't really been in contention. This is, you know, Trump and Clinton had both said they were going to win places like California and New York and New Jersey and so on. They never really moved out of the presumed Democrat column. But we also have a big call to make now.
A big call right now. Donald Trump will win the state of Florida. According to the Fox News decision desk, he will win the 29 electoral votes in Florida. A very tight race, but he is pulling that off. As you can see, the crowds outside here cheering. 49% to 47% right now, but we can project that he is going to win Florida. That means he has won Florida, North Carolina, and Ohio. This is the triple states that he needed to win to make the path possible. And as you just saw, Megan, upstairs, it's very possible as of this moment.
If you need the inside straight, he is well on his way, although it's not yet over. It is 11 o'clock here in New York City. Polls have just closed in 5 more states, representing another 82 electoral votes, most of which will go to Hillary Clinton. Fox News can now project that Clinton will win California's 55 electoral votes, the largest single batch in the country. Our Fox Decision Desk also projects that Mrs. Clinton will win the states of Washington and Hawaii, which collectively represent another 16 electoral votes.
On the Republican side, Donald Trump will win Idaho's 4 electoral votes based on Fox News exit polls. That leaves Oregon, which votes entirely by mail. So we'll have to wait a bit longer to determine who will win that state's 7 electoral votes. But we can probably project that it heads towards Hillary Clinton's way.
Nice cliffhanger, Oregon. Fox News can now project that Republican Senator Mike Crapo of Idaho will win a 4th term by defeating Democratic challenger Jerry Sturgill, according to the exit polls. And the Fox News Decision Desk can also project that a trio of Democratic senators will win re-election by defeating their Republican challengers in the following states: Washington, where Patty Murray has prevailed over her challenger; Oregon, where Ron Wyden will beat his challenger, Mark Callahan; and Hawaii, where Brian Schatz defeats John Carroll.
In California, Fox News can now project that Kamala Harris will replace fellow Democrat Barbara Boxer as the next U.S. Senator from the Golden State. Harris will defeat Loretta Sanchez, another Democrat, according to the Fox exit polls. And it's interesting, in California, you have the system by which the top 2 finishers go on to run in the general election. This time it was 2 Democrats, so there was no Republican challenger in the U.S. Senate race. That makes it a little bit tougher for the House races out there, trying to gin up support for some of those Republican House races.
I just want to stand by 1 second because we have a call to make, Britt. Fox News is ready to make a projection on the state of Utah, projecting that Donald Trump will win the state of Utah, which has been very contested. Evan McMullin and third party, a Mormon in Utah, gave Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton a run for their money out there. And that was very much in question, whereas it's almost always gone Republican. But this year around, there was a question about it, and Utah has now gone for Trump.
6 electoral votes puts us up to 222.
48.
I got you. I'm there. I have the calculator
I got your
now.
back, buddy.
All right, thank
For
you.
what it's worth, that is all still part of the base plan of getting the Romney states, plus getting Ohio, getting Florida, and getting 253, and then adding
Utah,
17
right.
somehow.
Can we just look at this national popular vote really quickly? Donald Trump, 43,038,272. To Hillary Clinton, 40,965,265, and it's just changing now. Carl, back to the digging in. What is Hillary Clinton's path to getting to 270?
Well, her path is Nevada, New Hampshire, Colorado. Well, she's won Colorado, so either Nevada or New Hampshire, plus hold the blue wall. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota. If she loses,
But she now has to run.
she now has to run the table.
Welcome back. Now a call from the Fox News decision desk. Hillary Clinton will win the state of Oregon. Not a surprise there, but it goes to the Democrats' column, and that adds to her electoral votes. They finally got those mail-in ballots in, I think.
All the drama's gone.
The drama's gone.
The drama's not gone, however, in the overall race. Hold on.
Stand by.
There's a big old call to make right now, and that is Fox News is projecting that Donald Trump has won the state of Wisconsin. Donald Trump has won the state of Wisconsin, and there goes her blue wall. That's 10 electoral votes. That brings Trump up to 232, and he has officially pierced the blue wall that she needed to hold on to, which is momentous. Wisconsin was barely in play.
Once we saw Ron Johnson win that Senate race, we knew Wisconsin was going to be a different picture. But Donald Trump, at 232 electoral votes, is now 38 electoral votes away from winning the presidency of the United States of America.
Do we have Dana's mic on? She's trying to make a point.
Trying to make a point? Oh, can you hear me now? Okay, so Scott Walker, the governor of Wisconsin, he has fought back two recounts of him. He has won re-election. He came out for Trump after being very reluctant, came back for him in a really big way, crisscrossed that state with Paul Ryan, and they were able to get Ron Johnson and Donald Trump, all those voters to turn out for him. I think that is absolutely momentous, and a big revolution is underway.
Just to pick up on what Greg was saying before the break, and Michael Moore, who knows white working class voters, has made movies about them, grew up in Michigan. This is basically what he said. Now, he's not a Trump fan. He basically said, you're going to blow up the system and you're going to be sorry about it. But the point he was making before he got to the end was, I actually have the quote here, Joe Blow, Steve Blow, Bob Blow, all the blows get to go and blow up the whole G-damn system, because that's your right. Trump's election is going to be the biggest FU ever recorded in human history.
Right.
And it will feel good. And then he said, for a day. And he predicted doom and gloom after that. But he understands this group of people, this group of voters, Kimberly.
Yes.
And had been saying all along to the Democrats, dismiss him at your own peril.
You're right, and he started saying on your show as well.
Oh,
You had
stand by.
Okay, we get another one?
Fox
Another.
News
A big
can
one.
now project that Iowa will go to Donald Trump. 6 electoral votes for Donald Trump. Iowa, the state of Iowa. He has turned the state of Iowa to Donald Trump. This is...
Can I
Go
tell
ahead,
you what this
Hollen.
is? This is, if Donald Trump holds the rest of the Romney states and he's projected to win, that's 269, which gives him the victory, assuming the House votes for him versus Hillary Clinton. He needed 16 between Michigan or Wisconsin, plus Iowa. Iowa 6, Michigan and Wisconsin are 10 each. There's your 16, folks. I mean, you're watching history being made.
He'll
Stand
definitely
by.
keep it.
Stand by. We have another call to make. Fox News Decision Desk is now projecting that Donald Trump has won the state of Georgia, which is also important. It wasn't. This again is part of the Romney coalition, so he needed to win this. This is part of the assumption to that 253, but an important one to him, and it has gone red. And
It did take a
she
long
failed
time to
flip
get
it.
there, but she did not flip it.
Thanks, guys. All right, so I'm over here with Bill Hemmer at the data deck, and the point right now, at this point in the evening, is what's her possible path?
Wow. It's amazing how it's flipped, hasn't it?
Yeah.
On the what if scenario, he's 16 votes away from getting the magic number. At this point, if he wins Michigan,
It's done.
It's done. He's there. I'll show you Michigan in a moment, but since you asked, we'll go ahead and go work through her scenario here. If she's at 209, Megan, if you give her Pennsylvania, let's say, okay, she runs the table. Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, state of Maine, New Hampshire, doesn't get her there.
Oh, boy.
Arizona would, however. I put her 276.
She's got to win everything.
Yes.
Every remaining state.
At the moment in Michigan, so he's up 1.5 points. Quick math, 3 million votes tallied so far. 4 years ago, it was 4.5, 4.6 million. So there's still votes coming in. But this is a state. Whoa, see.
Did I do that?
Hey,
I'm not allowed to touch that. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Technology.
We'll get it back. So we're going to Iowa. Coming back to Michigan
Sorry.
here in a moment here. And look what this state is doing at the moment compared to 4 years ago, right? You see the blue fill in? It's all Trump.
Different story. It's a different story.
And the same thing up here in Wisconsin, too. You know, we've been messing with these maps all night. Watch down here 4 years ago, Megan. Right over here.
Yep.
All the
All
blue
blue.
counties. And Trump's message has worked in that part of the country. And this is what the map looked like in 2012. And we've been asking for months now, what's it going to look like now in 2016? And so far, this is the way it's filling in. Can she win? She certainly can.
But just to reiterate, she has to win everything to win at this point? Is that how it's
almost looking? She could lose in New Hampshire, perhaps. She could lose the state of Maine. She could lose Alaska. But everything else, I mean, back on this thread, as it stands right now, it's all Michigan.
It's incredible.
And that would do it.
I'm not going to touch it, but those numbers in Michigan where they made a last-minute play there. Again, a couple weeks ago after Comey, suddenly we saw Trump going back to Michigan and going back to Virginia, which they realized were both very much in play, and Team Clinton was very aware of it, too, and sending Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, and you name it.
Just yesterday, this is where Hillary Clinton had a rally. Ottawa County. All right, this is a Republican part of the state. I mean, Romney got 67% of the vote in this county. This is Grand Rapids area, which is just to the east here. This is Gerald Ford Presidential Library territory. This is Republican part of the state. I mean, I was making the case yesterday. I could see if she went down here just west of Detroit, because that's Ann Arbor. And that's where Barack Obama was.
Turn up the base, turn up the turnout.
And you wonder now, I mean, were they seeing something that we did not, that we missed?
Listen, what do I know? But my own belief, having listened to the messaging, is the Clinton campaign came into today very confident, and the Trump campaign was a little questioning. Just listen to the messaging we got out of both camps up until tonight while we were on the air. You know, I mean, she was projecting, this is how I would govern. We have to bring the country together. We have to remember the Trump voters. And he was saying whatever's happened, you know, it was a great run and we've changed the country. It's completely flipped now.
On Friday afternoon, I met with 3 of the leading members in the Trump campaign, and they were adamant that they were winning North Carolina and they were going to win North Carolina.
But they always say that.
I understand. And they were arguing that their internal numbers show them that they're up 100,000 votes, whatever it is. I can pull up the number and see where we are. But the point is that they were debating why we still had it as a toss-up. They said at a minimum it's lean Republican. And they also felt very good about Florida, too. And we got in these debates back and forth, and that's when the whole Michigan conversation came up. I agree with you. I think in the past week to 10 days, that's when the question about Michigan was even discussed.
Because prior to that, he had been hemorrhaging in the polls, right? We had the Access Hollywood. We had all the female accusers come out. Prior to that, it was the Alicia Machado thing, and there was just all sorts of traps, so the debates didn't help him. The numbers were not on his side, but there was a shift a couple of weeks before this election night, and from the look of it, she never recovered.
Yeah, I would just add, you mentioned Michael Moore about 30 minutes ago. He was on another network the other day, and he said, I'm warning you, I know the people who live in my state, and I know how they think, and I know what their concerns are. And I remind you that Hillary Clinton in the pre-polling in the primary against Bernie Sanders was up 8 to 12 points across the board. And he stunned her in that state.
And Michigan's notorious for bad polling, for polling that's bad.
Depending on how this turns out, the Clinton team may agree with that.
And they will start their own recriminations probably in about 30 seconds. Hammer, thanks. Just want to interrupt you. We have a call to make. The Fox News decision desk is now ready to call Nevada. They are calling Nevada for Hillary Clinton, and its 6 electoral votes will go in the Clinton category. Not a huge surprise, but that was a swing state for which they had both played. And want to tell you this, too, as we look at the markets. As of, 12:08, which is the last we looked, the Dow was down 833 points. The NASDAQ and S&P 500 futures were down so low they halted them until the market opens tomorrow morning.
Welcome back to Fox News Election Headquarters. We have a Senate call for you. The Democrats will hold on to a Senate seat in Nevada. Cortez Masto, will win that seat against Joe Heck, the Republican congressman. This was a hard-fought battle for the seat of retiring Senate Minority Leader Harry Reid, and it was seen that she could get the machine of the Democrats in Nevada to work for her. It worked, and now they hold that seat. It was not a flip, so it's a Democratic seat. So far, they have picked up 1. As far as flipping seats on the net gain. They need a net gain of 5.
Doesn't look like it's going to happen tonight. Look at the crowd outside of the Fox News headquarters. Remember that time we said we thought we'd be able to make a call by 11, and the early exit polls looked like that call would probably go to Hillary Clinton? Not so much. We are watching right now states including Michigan, which has been too close to call, Pennsylvania, which has been too close to call, New Hampshire, Minnesota, Maine, Arizona. None of those has come in, and we started the evening saying Trump needed to pull an inside straight. Shoes on a very different foot now, mixing metaphors. But she needs an inside straight, and it should be, ideally it would be a flush as well, straight flush. It's going to be hard, is my point. And a new pair of shoes, which everyone always needs, no matter what. Going to toss it up to Brett, who's with Bill Heimer at the data deck upstairs.
Yes, the data deck. And we are looking at some cards for Hillary Clinton that do not look like they're lining up for
I
her.
think I told you earlier today I'd see you at 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's true.
But I think we're supposed to be at the bar.
Yes, that's right. There are casinos in Michigan. Show us some Michigan.
Here's what I've been watching for the last 30 minutes, okay? 30 minutes ago, Trump's margin was about 34,000 in Michigan. And then it bumped up to 42,000. And then
so these are remaining
ago,
counties.
Correct, yeah, northern Michigan. Then it bumped up to 59,000. My point is, every time you watch it, maybe it's 5,000, Brett, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 2,000.
But right now it's 50.
Correct. 59. Did it change again?
No, 51.
Oh, boy. I mean, I gave up math when I got an iPhone.
There you go. Okay, 59.
So let me take you to Pennsylvania here, and this is what's happened over the last 30 minutes. At 12:30 East Coast time, he was up 26,000 votes. 15 minutes later, he was up 35,000 votes in Pennsylvania. And right now, based on that board, it's 52. Okay, it had been 59. It came down about 5,000. So you're at 52,000 vote margin there in the state of Pennsylvania.
So either one of those states obviously puts him over the top of 270 electoral votes to win. She has to find the votes there in Michigan or Pennsylvania. Otherwise, because Minnesota doesn't do it alone, Arizona is still out here, but it's a Republican-leaning state.
But let me show you that, too, by the way, in Arizona, because at the moment he's got about a 4-point lead right now. You know, you go back 4 years ago and you see what the margin was between, Romney and Obama. It was much greater. She's closed the gap as a Democrat, but again, he still has the advantage. So we go back to the what-if column yet again, and, okay, take Michigan out of the picture, take Pennsylvania out. If he's at 254 right now confirmed, Arizona puts him at 265. New Hampshire is too close to call. Have you seen what's going on in that state? I mean, it is just so razor tight. I'll take you there right now. And we can see the margin here. I mean, this has gone 0.2% in his favor, 0.2% in her favor.
All right, let me do one thing.
Yeah.
Let me do one thing on this what if. What if, let's go back here, and what if, okay, what if she pulls out the miraculous win in Michigan?
And Pennsylvania.
And Pennsylvania. She's at 251. Now, Minnesota looks like it's heading her way, 261. All right, you have to give Arizona
Likely
to Donald Trump. So then you have Alaska that goes Republican.
It just closed a minute ago.
Okay, let's just say it goes Republican. 268. Then you have the presidency of the United States hanging on New Hampshire, which, by the way, is tight, right?
Very tight. Could go either way. And
right here? Well, let's see where it is. Right now, you have Clinton up in New Hampshire.
Yeah. No, it's Maine.
Oh, that would be why. That's why. See, that's why Bill does it and I don't do it.
Okay.
It's
do another shot
big
there.
fingers.
Take two.
There we go. Okay. And you have, again, Clinton up in New Hampshire.
By about 1,000 votes. Click back to 2012 on the bottom right there.
I'm going to give you back control. My point is that it is conceivable that the entire presidency of the United States comes down to New Hampshire, the first in the nation primary
I only
state.
point this out because it's 650,000 votes from 4 years ago. Okay, from 2016, we are well under that mark right now. So you've got 520,000 votes in right now. You're going to get more vote in, and whether or not, well, she just jumped up 0.7%. I mean, that's what we're debating right now, trying to figure this out. 0.7% of the entire vote for the states. But it's pretty simple this way, Brett. You win Michigan, boom, you're at the number.
That's it.
It's pretty easy this way. You win Pennsylvania, you're at the number. Right now, in both states, he has a lead. We'll see how long this lasts. But in our studio tonight is Mr. Butterfly Ballot.
Okay.
His name is John Bolton, and he will tell you that all these states have a law when you go into a mandatory recount. We're going to dive into that in a minute. We'll try and figure that out for you.
We are making a call now. The Fox News decision desk is calling Maine, the state of Maine, for Hillary Clinton. But this is 3 out of the 4 available electoral votes there. We have not called the 2nd congressional district in Maine. Maine is one of 2 states, along with Nebraska, that splits up its electoral votes. So now you have Maine plus 3 for Hillary Clinton, with 1 still remaining out there.
Yeah. To do the math on that, at the moment, with that factored in, if she were to take New Hampshire, run the table in Pennsylvania, Michigan, Minnesota, she's at 268.
She has to win Arizona or Alaska?
Arizona or Alaska, according to this scenario at the moment.
Okay.
That's a big challenge right now. And, you know, they're breathing pretty heavy in Brooklyn at the moment.
All right, we're going to send it back down to you, Megan.
All right, guys, thank you. So why can't we call any of these states? Why is it hello, Michigan, hello, Minnesota, hello, Arizona, hello, Pennsylvania?
Out here rather than back there doing his work.
That's true. Steyerwalt is usually on the decision desk. We've yanked him out here tonight, and he's like, you can see, he's like sweating. He's like, get me back there. I don't like not knowing.
Well, I do like knowing more than not knowing, but I also know this. Pennsylvania is hard to call. Now, Carl and I were just talking about, there are some places in Pennsylvania that she has very obviously underperformed. But there is still a path for her, or at least there was as of about 3 minutes ago, a path for her in Pennsylvania to get this done. As far as, you know, we want to be careful about calls even when they look obvious. So something like Arizona, right? So you look at that and you say, well, gosh, that should be enough. But we would rather be, when it's this close, we'd rather be right than be early.
Just looking at so up here on the wall, you've got all the states we haven't called, right? I don't know if it's all of them, but it's a lot of them, the big ones. And look at that. So obviously Michigan is the best one because if he got 16, that's it. He wins the presidency. If we project Michigan for Donald Trump, he wins the presidency. Pennsylvania, same deal. All the others need a little bit of extra. Minnesota's 10, but you can see if he could add, 10 gets him to 264, and then he needs 6, so he can cobble together a couple more. Arizona, we haven't yet called. That's 11. If he could win Arizona and Minnesota, Arizona and one of the others, you know.
Well, if he won Arizona and New Hampshire, that would get him to 269. It would mean the worst he could do is a tie, and he wins if it's a tie.
And if he got in Maine's second congressional district is still out.
Well, 250.
Arizona plus New Hampshire.
269.
Yeah.
I didn't.
You said 250.
Oh no, 269 would mean a tie, and he's president.
Okay.
So Arizona and New Hampshire would do it.
Oh, good. All right. So listen, we like to reminisce here. We love to go back down old memory lanes. So I'm actually going to take a walk to the decision desk and find out what's the deal with Michigan, what's the deal with Minnesota. It was so fun the last time, so we're just going to. But you know, stakes are different this time.
Tell them I missed them.
We haven't called the election. We're actually just finding out why we haven't called the election, why we haven't called a couple of these key states, and it's a much shorter walk. Thanks to our new studio. Here we are. Hey there. Here's all our guys. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Arne Michigan, the man of the hour. How you doing?
Terrific, Megan. How are you?
We meet again.
Yes.
All right. So what's the deal? First of all, let's talk about Michigan. What's the deal with Michigan? Why can't you call it?
Right now, we're still waiting on some vote from Detroit and other places. And so even though clearly Trump has a lead, we're not prepared to call it yet.
Because Detroit is considered heavily Democratic.
Democratic area, yes.
So what do you need to see? What the turnout there was, or what?
We need to see the turnout, and most important, we need to understand what the absentee vote is. Because the absentee vote tends to be counted in bizarre ways, county by county, and so we're waiting to see what that vote is like before we can make a call in Michigan.
Any idea what time that will be? It's 1:10 in the morning. Any idea, like, seriously, do they tell you what the timing would be?
What they tell us is soon, and soon could mean anything.
That's not helpful.
I know.
All right, forget Michigan. Let's move on to Minnesota. 10 electoral votes there. That could get them much closer. What's the deal there?
Minnesota, we're also waiting for a lot of vote in the Twin Cities area, which also tends to be Democratic. There does seem to be, Hillary seems to have a slight lead in Minnesota, but it's a very tenuous lead. And when we look at the models, it looks like it's going to be a very close night there.
Wow. Which, again, I mean, most people were not predicting. Minnesota was not supposed to be.
Not at all.
It wasn't considered a toss-up, really.
Not at all.
Okay, Arizona. Why haven't we called that?
Arizona has begun counting vote in a slightly different way. There's a lot of vote that doesn't get counted on Election Day. So it's not clear we're going to be able to make a call in Arizona tonight, but we're going to try.
Pennsylvania. That's the mother lode. If Trump gets that, he's got it.
That's right. Pennsylvania also looks like it's ending up going to be a very close night in Pennsylvania. I wouldn't be surprised if we're not able to call Pennsylvania tonight.
If we're not able to call it at all.
Very possible, yes.
How about Maine's congressional district, second congressional district? Man, they've gotten so much airtime this election.
That's exactly right. This is the district in outstate Maine, the northern part of Maine. Right now, Trump has a lead in the raw vote, but I think it's only about 50% of the vote has been counted there. And so we don't have a model for Maine CD2, but we do have it. It looks like Trump may get that one electoral vote, but we're not ready to call that.
What am I missing? Which one am I forgetting?
The most interesting one you're missing is Alaska. And
really?
Precisely. Alaska has 3 electoral votes. Historically, Alaska has always gone Republican. Right now, we're looking at conflicting data from Alaska, and Alaska is another state that tends to count vote extremely slowly. And so that's another state that we could be hanging on for a couple of days.
How about New Hampshire and its 4 electoral votes?
New Hampshire.
Joe Trippi is obsessed with New Hampshire. He wants me to ask.
As he should be. New Hampshire is a state that we could very easily also not be calling tonight.
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
Should we dock their pay? Is there like, all right, so let me ask you this. You guys they all sit back here, they crunch the numbers, they talk, they compare notes. What explains what we have seen tonight? Do you look at that? Do you look at any of the exit data, or is that all Dana Blanton? But can you help us understand what people misread?
That's a really good question. People are going to be poring over the data for months and possibly years to figure out what really happened. I think what basically happened was in the final polling, we saw that Clinton had roughly a 4-point lead in most of the polls. She was at about 48%, 49%. The question was, what happened to all the folks who were on what I call the movables, folks who said they were either for Johnson, Stein, or were purely undecided, and they ranged from 8 to 10 to 12%, depending on the poll you were looking at. And I think what happened was a lot of those people, they said they weren't for Hillary Clinton, and they weren't. And in the end, they decided to go for Trump. That's my hypothesis of what the polling. It was a misreading of the polling rather than a mistake of the polls.
I'm not going to hold you to this because I know you're crunching numbers in counties and raw vote and things like that now. But do you have a feel on the late deciders? Do you have a feel on whether it really was a late breaking vote for Trump or whether this was baked in, these late deciders, these people you're talking about? Was it the last few days or when was it?
What we saw in the exit poll is that there was some late decided movement towards Trump. But I think what it is evidence that they were basically sort of decided, but they didn't want to say. And then in the end, they went for Trump. So
it is what you're saying that the shy Trump voter really was out there?
I guess so. Yep.
It doesn't seem possible that you can be a shy Trump voter, right? What we know of the Trump voters is they are not shy. They are not shy.
Exactly. And that's the big difference between this general election and what we were seeing all year in the primaries. All year in the primaries, the Trump number from the polling was exactly the Trump number that he got in the primary. And all the undecided went away from Trump. This time, we're seeing that a lot of that undecided, in fact, wound up being a Trump vote.
All right, last question. What of the states that are still out there?
Oh, and one more thing.
Yeah, go.
The other thing to note is that right now, Clinton is ahead in the popular vote. And that was something actually a lot of analysts understood, that in fact, a Democratic lead of 3 or 4% translated into an electoral college photo finish, which is what we're seeing right now, that basically Democrats run up the score in states like California, New York, Illinois, and roughly 3% of the vote is wasted by Democrats in those states. That's just the way the Continental Congress decided it, and it's wasted in those states. And so, even though you might have a 3% lead in the popular vote, that could translate into an electoral college photo finish.
All right, so I actually have 2 more questions. Number 1 is, does she have any chance left?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Okay, all right, I had to try. So number 2 is, what is the state you guys think you're most likely to call next? I realize you don't know. Which one are we most likely to get next?
We're looking at a number of states that we could possibly call very quick.
Does it begin with an M?
You're a very good interviewer.
You're not going to tell me?
No, not yet.
Arnon, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, all of you guys. You guys are unsung heroes here at Fox News and all the work you do. You too, Kath. All of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Honored to work with these guys.
If we could, take an update right now on the net gains of the House and Senate, because you have the Senate we are still waiting on Missouri, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania in the Senate. And Louisiana is heading to a runoff December 10th. The Senate, remember, had to have a net gain of 5 for Democrats to pick up control of the U.S. Senate. If they lose the White House, they needed all 5. Well, you're talking about Blunt in Missouri, Ayotte in New Hampshire, Toomey in Pennsylvania, and a Louisiana would be a red state holding on if they flipped it on December 10th. Is the runoff scheduled. So you have 4 remaining. They would have to run the table on the remaining 4 to take control. And once we have one of these that comes in for Republicans, the control of the U.S. Senate will stick in the Republicans'
Our decision has not called it, but the Democratic candidate in Missouri has called the race, and he just conceded to Roy Blunt.
Oh,
Republicans have kept the Blunt seat.
Wow.
And
that's what you call being careful
Chris,
on the decision desk.
That's pretty good evidence that he's done.
I don't know because I'm not back there. But
maybe you should take the walk.
if she can't get it out of him, you think I can? Lord, no. But if that's reported,
and there's a lot of I'm seeing a lot of stuff that people say that Toomey's got it in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm getting emails from the state Republican Party chairman, Rob Gleason, telling me, why is Fox not calling it? We're up by 70,000 votes. And I told him,
here we go again.
Get a lot of that. And this is a big race call for you now. We are ready to project that Pat Toomey has won the election in Pennsylvania. That's another Republican victory there, fending off his challenger, as you can see, by a decent margin. Right, yeah. Exactly, by a decent margin. So this means, if I'm not mistaken, this means that the Republicans will officially retain control of the upper chamber. That's it. So the Democrats are not going to be winning control of the Senate. The Democrats are not going to be winning control of the Congress. And at this rate, it certainly doesn't look like they're going to be winning control of the White House.
And if you're right, Carl, and we don't have a call as of yet, but if you're right about Missouri, you're starting to talk about 51-49. You have still Missouri.
Starwald, am I right about Missouri?
I got it right here. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch says that Jason Kander has conceded the race.
And there you have it. So Roy Blunt holds off the Democrat, Jason Kander, who was expected to have a win there in Missouri. So now you have Democrats held off in Missouri, in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, still waiting on New Hampshire, and also obviously that Louisiana runoff December 10th. To our decision desk, which has made some calls, and obviously some calls are still pending.
Here we are.
And Megan didn't walk there this time, but there she is.
Hello. We're here. Arden's here again. Arden, Michigan, great to see you. So, first of all, let's start with the Senate. Why haven't we called, I mean, we've sort of said the Republicans are going to retain the power in the Senate, but why haven't we officially called that?
There are several unknowns in the Senate now. The first is that there's a Louisiana runoff which takes place in early December between a Democrat and a Republican. And while I think a lot of people say the Republican is advantaged in that runoff, we can't make a call for the Senate until we have an actual result from Louisiana.
So you're not going to make a call on the Senate tonight? We're never going to get the fancy graphic on the Senate tonight?
That is correct. It is theoretically possible that we could get the Democrats to 50, but that would require
Hillary to know that your voices and your enthusiasm means so much to her and to Tim and to all of us. We are so proud of you. And we are so proud of her. She's done an amazing job, and she is not done yet. So thank you for being with her. She has always been with you. I have to say this tonight. Good night. We will be back. We'll have more to say. Let's get those votes counted, and let's bring this home. Thank you so much for all of you have done. You are in all of our hearts. Thank you.
John Podesta, chairman of the Clinton campaign, with a message of head home and get some sleep. Certainly not what they expected to be delivering at campaign headquarters for Hillary Clinton tonight. Now the ball is in Donald Trump's court, as none of the television networks have called this race for him, nor have they called Pennsylvania for him. Some of the outstanding states we're waiting on. The Associated Press has made some different calls. We're here at our decision desk with Arden Michigan, who's the head of the desk, and I'm going to ask you about that. So first of all, where do we stand on Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania right now, Trump is in the lead. There are, however, a number of outstanding votes that have not yet been counted. And more important, there are a number of counties where we actually don't know how many votes are really outstanding, particularly absentee votes. And the thing about absentee votes is absentee votes tend to be different than election day votes. So until we see how many absentee votes are outstanding and get that number, it's going to be very difficult to make a call.
Do you agree that that state might not be called tonight?
That is very possible.
Wow. All right, what about, we're back in Michigan now. What's happening in Michigan?
In Michigan, we're waiting for a dump of absentee votes in a number of places, particularly in places where the Democrats tend to be very strong, such as Detroit. And until we see that, it's going to be, we won't be able to get to where we would like to be, which is 99.95% probability of a victory.
So you might not call Michigan tonight?
That is a possibility, although we'll be staying here late and seeing how the vote comes in.
Minnesota.
Minnesota is a very close state. Right now, I think Hillary Clinton is up, but it's nowhere near the place where you could be callable. The state would be callable.
Are we waiting on an additional vote or absentee? What's the problem there?
More vote to be counted, and similarly in New Hampshire, which is also looks like it's headed.
It's so small. How can we not have all the votes in New Hampshire?
That's a really good question.
What's the answer?
I don't know.
Do you think you're going to be able to call New Hampshire tonight?
I think New Hampshire tonight is potentially very doubtful.
Really?
Yes.
All right, so maybe we should start with what you think you might be able to call. What is outstanding that looks like a possibility?
We may be able to call Pennsylvania president, and we may be able to call Michigan president, but that would take within an hour or two before we can call that.
You'll know within the next 2 hours, you think?
I would suspect, yes.
Whether you can call it, not who's won necessarily.
I think actually those two answers will converge.
They're the same.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, do you agree with John Podesta's decision to come out there and tell everybody to go to sleep and go home, and her decision not to concede tonight?
Well, you guys pay me to count vote. But I will say that I would argue that one of the big mistakes Al Gore made in 2000 was appearing to be about to concede and then not to concede. So I think that what Podesta is doing today, or what the Clinton people are doing today, which is actually what the Nixon people kind of did in 1960 when they didn't concede, although in the case of 1960 he sort of appeared to concede and then didn't concede. I think what they're doing is probably very shrewd from their perspective.
Because she doesn't. I mean, you tell me whether you believe she's thinking she's got a good shot of still winning this tonight, or whether she's just thinking there is some chance, so I'll wait to see whether that pans out.
I think it's the some chance, so I should wait to see how this pans out.
Yeah, it might be. By the way, officially, we have called Missouri for Roy Blunt, the Republican. This was obviously after the Democrat had conceded, Cantor, and we are calling that race, and that means that I guess we're not officially
Yeah, we're not.
there.
Still not, because of Louisiana.
Hey, it's 2:30 in the morning, all right?
It's anticlimactic.
But I will say this, he might have had, the Democrat in this race, Cantor, might have had the best campaign ad of the entire season.
Right.
You know, he was putting together an AR-15 rifle blindfolded, a Democrat putting it together, and he showed that he was, you know, pro-gun in Missouri, criticized the establishment, Roy Blunt. He was actually closer to Trump than Roy Blunt was, as far as what he talked about.
Because he was the outsider.
Because he was like the outsider.
Right, because Roy Blunt has been in the Senate, well, in Washington for a long time. His wife is a lobbyist in Washington. His children work in the industry. And so Cantor was able to try to define Blunt as one of those insiders that you would want to drain the swamp from.
We are going to make this decision now. The Fox News decision desk has called Pennsylvania for Donald Trump. This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States, winning the most unreal, surreal election we have ever seen. This candidacy starting on an escalator ride 1 year ago and going down against 16 Republican candidates. What started off as unlikely, impossible, is now reality. He said he was always a winner. This did not come without controversy. The billionaire, entrepreneur, TV reality star has defeated the candidate once figured to be undefeatable, besting Secretary of State Hillary Clinton in an electoral college victory that virtually no one saw coming a year ago. A few months ago,
A week
even
ago.
a month ago, even yesterday, and a path to victory that was unlike anything we've ever seen. It did not come without controversy. It did not come without splitting this country in some of the most divisive language. It does come now at a time where his supporters say this is the evidence that Washington was not working. They wanted to kick over the table and do something different.
You know, he told me once that he had a conversation with Melania when he was considering running about whether he should do it. And she looked at him and said, you know, if you do it, you're going to win.
Right.
Right? And he, you know, he understood that as well. And there have been moments over the course of the campaign where it's been tough on both of them. Melania, too.